Hello, I'm John Eaton. I would now like to tell you a bit more of my story. In 1862 I had Messrs Melville and Travis import 2 prize bulls for me from England. These arrived aboard the Queensland on the 25th of June. The Maryborough United Cricket Club was formed in the summer of 1864-65. I joined the club and took part in the practice sessions. Later in the year, a Brisbane cricket team called the Collegiate 11 visited Maryborough to compete against the local side. During the match, which was held on the 23rd of June, I was out for a duck in the first innings. I fared much better in the second, scoring 19 of the 66 runs scored. Maryborough won the match by 86 runs. I continued to play cricket for many years. My son-in-law, Walter Hay, purchased the lease of a property called Tahiti in 1860. It was situated on Tanana Creek, southeast of the present township of Tyro. Walter married my daughter, Mary, at T-Bar in 1856. By the end of the year he and his family had moved from Maryborough and were living in a homestead by a lagoon on Tahiti. The following year they heard that there were hostile Aborigines in the area. Under the cover of darkness, they made their escape, carrying their 2 children, John and William, on their backs. The following day Walter returned with his half-brother, Frank Atkinson. They discovered that the Aborigines had looted the place and burnt the homestead to the ground. I purchased the lease of Tahiti from Walter in 1866. He managed the property for me for another 12 months. In April 1867 I purchased the boiling down works from Charles Booker. I called it the Woodlands Steam Boiling Establishment. It was used for boiling down sheep and cattle carcasses for tallow. I charged 8 shillings per head for cattle and 9 pence for sheep. When the boiling down season was over, we used the plant for sawmilling. This same year, several of the graziers in the Wide Bay district had their herds inoculated as the region was being ravaged with pleuropneumonia. I had my herds done. By this stage I was paying over £100 a year on leases of stations I held in the district. The Maryborough Race Club resumed racing in 1867 after a lapse of 5 years. My horse called Quicksilver ran third in a race held on the second day of the carnival. The Wide Bay Farmers and Planters Association was formed on the 5th of October 1867. At the first meeting, held in the council chambers at Maryborough on the 2nd of November, it was unanimously agreed that the secretary write to me and ask for my permission to nominate me for president. I accepted the nomination. I held the position until the 18th of January 1869 when Mr. Simpson took over from me. On the 3rd of September, I donated £2 2 shillings towards a prize for the best cultivated 5 acres of sugar cane in the district. About this time, I purchased 3 more blocks of land between Bidwell and Tanana Creeks. My men and I cleared this land, which totaled 298 acres, in preparation to plant more cane. In mid-November 1867, I was a member of a private gold escort that travelled to the New Gympie goldfield to collect some of the mounting pile of gold dust, nuggets and gold-bearing quartz to be taken to the safe-keeping of the Maryborough Bank. The official party consisted of myself and 3 other Maryborough citizens, Nicholas Tooth, Bartley Fay, and William Southerden, as well as Acting Gold Commissioner Davidson, and a black tracker. We arrived at Gympie just before sundown. It had only been about a month since James Nash discovered gold there and the miners were still living in tents on the goldfield. Franklin Lawrence, James Nash, Billy Malcolm, and Charles Brown joined us on the return journey. Each of these men were carrying a large amount of gold. We rode all day and reached Maryborough about 5 p.m. A large group of horsemen joined us at Prince's Ferry and accompanied to the bank amid a tremendous amount of shouting and cheering. Then Robert Travis invited us all into his store to drink champagne. By December 1867, my sugar cane was being crushed by the Central Sugar Mill, which had just been taken over by John Meiklejohn. In 1868, the Queensland government passed the Polynesian Labourers Act to control the importation of Kanakas. The Act decreed that the recruiting vessels must be licensed and the owners would forfeit a £500 bond if it were proved that the natives had been kidnapped. On embarkation, the natives were each given a shirt, trousers and a blanket. It was forbidden to supply them with spirits. Employers of Kanakas had to be licensed and put up a bond against the promise that the natives would be returned to their own islands within 3 years. In addition, returns were required listing names, island of origin, and destination of employment of every employee. A set scale of rations was fixed. All cases of death or desertion had to be notified. An immigration agent was authorized to tour the sugar districts and investigate any working conditions. Also in 1868, the Queensland Parliament passed the Crown Lands Alienation Act. Under this act, large stations were split into leasehold and resumed land. Stations became smaller holdings as sections of them were resumed for small selections. The landholder was given the right to purchase all or part of the leasehold in his run. 3 of my runs, T-Bar, Yarumba, and Waikalba, were consolidated into one run under this act and called T-Bar. It covered a total of 58,000 acres. On the 12th of May 1868 I applied for a 40-acre selection of land in the parish of Tanana. I paid £62 for it when it was granted to me by the Land Commissioner later in the year. In August 1868, Walter Hay constructed a road between Tyro and the new goldfield at Colkevan. My steamer, the John Eaton, ran regular services from Maryborough down the Mary River to Tyro. From there the passengers caught Cobb's coach to Colkevan. This brought the diggings within a day's easy journey to Maryborough. Also in August, the steamer carried the first 8 tons of fine dry yellow sugar from the central sugar mill to the store in Maryborough owned by Robert Travis, who was the selling agent. The John Eaton was rebuilt in 1870 and renamed the Effie. In May 1869 work commenced on my mill at Eaton Vale. I commissioned Walker and Company to erect it. A double tramway was constructed down to the wharf, extending onto the punt floor to save lifting the cane. The weight of the descending truck was used to help pull the loaded one up to the mill. At the rollers, the truck turned over on hinges and emptied. This was an early application of what was to become a common system of tipping cane trucks. My hopes to have the mill completed in time to crush my cane in August were not realized. Soon after its completion in October, the first samples of large-grain bright yellow counter sugar were sent into Maryborough. The mill used the open pan process modified to accelerate the heating process. Exhaust steam was used simultaneously to heat the juice and pump it into clarifiers. I appointed Donald MacDonald as the manager. Crushing progressed well into the new year. Well folks, it is time for another break. Bye for now.